Hi, Derek. Thank you so much for participating in the podcaster. It's a pleasure to have you here. And I wonder, like, if we can first start with an introduction of yourself.
Sure. Thanks for inviting me. Really excited about your new podcast series, so it's a pleasure to come on. Yeah, so high level about me is I'm Derek Alia. I've been in the DeFi space, Ethereum space for probably since 2018. Started my Ethereum sort of journey at Aragon, which was an early DAO focus company, and then went on to start FutureSwap, which was the first decentralized perpetuals on chain, and have since been playing around with crypto and seeing what's out there, and have really just been through the ups and downs of DeFi and the NFT market, and now this new market that's coming out through Farcaster, the whole SocialFi, and I just think it's been this evolution that's been awesome to be part of. And so, yeah, I decided to start building an app called Supa, which was originally really focused on automations, but we've since moved over to more social, leaning on this social graph and viewing that as a really critical component for the user experience and user features. And so we've been just deep in the space of trying to figure out what you can do and what kind of products you can now unlock, given that um, you know, Farcaster is a thing and it's growing. And there's been some really cool examples of people building tech on there through frames and lots of meme coins and lots of social tipping that is kind of we've seen before with early Doge, but now it's sort of evolved to this. So yeah, so that's my high level background, and yeah, I'm just a fanatic about crypto. I love it.
Awesome. And I wonder also if you could just briefly introduce us to Supa. What is it that you're building?
Yeah, so Supa is a DeFi focused client for Farcaster. So it basically combines your social graph that Farcaster creates, and we also pull in all your on-chain data, and that merging of data is basically where Supa sits. Um, that's a really high level, and the idea is we are trying to be sort of this super app for all of your crypto needs, in the sense that if you want to interact with DeFi, Soup is probably the easiest way to do that because we lean into your social network to make it as easy as possible, whether you are an advanced user or you're a novice user, you're a beginner. Because you have this social network, you can sort of like follow people who are potentially more experienced. Um, it makes it super easy for people to get in and start using these things that they'd be really intimidated to use otherwise.
So, like, I'm trying to understand like the problem that you're trying to solve. I guess that it's how difficult the onboarding is, and like how difficult it is to actually interact with DeFi. That's like the main issue you're trying to solve.
Yeah, I think there are those. That's a core issue. I think probably the biggest core issue is that, like, okay, we're on chain. Let's say we're experienced. We're on chain. Like, there are so many things to do on chain. You're not quite sure what to do. So the big issues that we're trying to solve for is like, what do you want to do? When do you do it? And then how do you do it? Those are the three things we think are actually really important for DeFi, because there's just so many people in the space that they love using the product, but it's oftentimes very hard to discern, like, what do I actually do here? And that came from our experience building Supa, which is like automating. Hey, we assume that you have these things that you really care about, that you really want to solve. We're going to build this automation tool so you don't have to sign all these things. We're going to auto balance your LP position. We're going to do all these things. And we built this product and we gave it to people, and people were like, well, I just don't know what to do actually. Like, oh wow. Like, what to do is almost harder than like how to do it. And so if we can surface really interesting things to do, we think that's like one of the core problems to solve that everyone on chain faces. So
That absolutely makes sense. And I wonder, like, when you say like to show users what they can do with DeFi, what
mhm,
do you mean exactly by that? Like, if you could just like elaborate on what the product looks like, and
sure.
what specifically are you offering to users?
Yeah, so essentially what the product looks like is it's very similar to an on-chain feed, but it's sorted by who you're following on Farcaster. So everyone you follow on Farcaster, you get their on-chain data. And specifically, we focus on DeFi specific events. So are they trading this token? Did they go into this poly market? Did they open this perp? Did they do this loan on Morpho? Did they stake their ETH? So these like financial decisions that they're making, we are tracking. And we're also bringing like insights to say, hey, 2 weeks ago, your friend Sebastian bought this token and it's up 200%. And we feel like those insights are, you have to, right now, you have to like manually go out and figure out, okay, I want to go check on Sebastian and I want to go see what he's been doing. And oh, look, this thing is, I should have like done this thing. So we sort of want to pull out the things that are successful to show you like, here's what people that are winning, this is what it looks like. And we created a feed of basically this information coming through. And with each of these feed items, you see very clearly a summary of what happened. You can click for more details and you can click one of the buttons we have, which is our replicate button. And it will instantly ask you, hey, do you want to like basically do the same thing that this person did, but with a different amount of money? So I could do maybe 10% of, what
Like
you did.
without even like going to the actual app. Like I don't know, like if my friend did a trade on Polymarket, I
Yeah.
don't even have to go to Polymarket. I'll simply replicate the trade. Interesting.
Right. So basically, we got really good at doing batch transactions, basically taking these transactions and batching them and pushing them out. We're using Coinbase Wallet. So it's literally just, it's using the smart contract wallet, which is pretty new and it's been awesome to build with. So you probably already have assets if you just log in. You instantly have your Coinbase smart contract wallet. When you want to do a transaction, you just scan your face and it sends it out. And, it actually, what's great is Coinbase actually simulates the transaction so you see what happens. So you get that confirmation of being like, okay, the simulation is successful. Like, yeah, I want to do it. So yeah, high level is we compress all the things your friends are doing and people you're interested in, and we make it really easy to copy what they did.
So I wonder, Derek, like what sort of like use cases do you imagine for Supa?
Yeah, so I think there's sort of three personas that we've modeled out. And the initial one is, the beginner user. Everyone has a friend in crypto where they always bug you, hey, why didn't you tell me to do this? And we really want to like capture that user by saying like, look, if you can tell your friend, just download Supa and follow me, and then you'll see everything I do. And if you want to copy that with one button, you just click it and you can get that thing. So gone are the days where people are like, why didn't you just tell me that you made this trade? Why didn't you ping me on Telegram or whatever? So that's for the beginner user. We think that's like a really low hanging fruit. Just makes it easier to interact with crypto, regardless of the complexity of the person that did the initial transaction. And then our second user is the people who are looking for alpha. So one thing for Supa is we really are focused on bringing in the insights that you would want from an app to figure out what's really going on. So we have the leaderboard, which will show you every day who's the top basically trader or of any of the categories. Right now it's for tokens. So we can see who's the best at buying and selling tokens for the day, the month, the week, whatever. And you can kind of say like, this person is always on the top. Like I need to follow them. And when they trade, I need to set my alerts so that I get pinged and I can just follow what they do. Right? Or I can at least make a decision of whether or not I want to follow that thing. I don't always have to follow it. So we're
Now,
trying to make it. Go ahead.
I wonder like do these people need to sign up to Supa in order to get listed on it? Like, let's say I'm a key opinion leader. Like, people love the stuff I do on chain. People want to replicate my portfolio. Do
Yep.
I need to sign up in order for people to
No,
see what I'm doing on chain?
no, we're bringing all of Farcaster into this app. Right now, it's the leaderboard is mostly Power Badge users and users who have signed into our app. But they just did away with Power Badge users, so it's an initial cohort, and then we add more people over time. Everything gets picked up whether or not you signed into the app or not. Like we're using the Farcaster data to figure out who's doing what. The biggest advantage to signing into our app is that if you do a swap and I'm following you and I see your swap and I replicate that swap, we take a very small fee from me and send it to you automatically. And if you log into Supa, you get that fee. If you don't log into Supa, you don't get that fee. So basically every action has a referral built into it for the initial transaction creator, right? You did the work of figuring that out. And so everyone that's following you, when they see you do that and they decide to trade, they immediately basically give a very tiny percent, a fraction of a percent to you. So that's our way of
Interesting.
sort of paying back users.
And I guess that's also like a very strong incentive for them to maybe share their Supa profile on Twitter, for example, and get like their Twitter audience to actually track them on Supa.
For sure. I think we have this idea of like quote casting an action. So if you did an impressive trade, maybe you sold, degen at the right time, and I can quote cast that action and put it on my profile and basically say through Farcaster and say, hey, this is like really impressive. And people can say like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. How did you get that data? When they click that, those signups are attributed to you. So we have a way of sort of getting data to Farcaster and hopefully building up your following through that. So that's
Super
sort of
cool.
high level.
Super cool. Like I sort of like imagine this as like people love following like for example Warren Buffett like in like
Yeah.
traditional finance I mean or like people speculate like I don't know if Charlie Munger said like a recommendation about a specific stock or like if Carl Icahn is trading a specific stock people are like following en masse to these guys. So I definitely see this as well. Like definitely it happens in Twitter as well. Like in crypto, like there's people just publicly showing the trades and lots of like people following these key opinion leaders. So I definitely see this as like a major a product with like quite some PMF, I would say.
Yeah. Well, just to like expand on that, it's funny because Twitter has the ability to subscribe to users, right? And there's crypto influencers on Twitter. They're quite popular. But the issue there is like they're missing this like linking their wallet to their account and making everything really transparent. It's a little bit shady sometimes because you're following this person and you don't know if it's like a rug. Like it's alpha for a while. But are they really doing that size of trading? Like there's just too much room to not have the truth. And if that stuff is just built in, like truth is just built in, like it is on Farcaster, we think that that's just a better approach over time. And there will be crypto influencers that are just like, yeah, here's my public wallet. I'm going to like go from $100 to $1 million. Join me on the journey. And for people to see that transparency of when they lost and when they won, that's just almost like more interesting than some guy on Twitter saying he's trading this much. And there's no backing to that. And it's hard to like really, how can you verify that? So the whole verification side, we think Farcaster does that really well. And building on top of that as a foundation is really ideal for the situation you described earlier.
I wonder like because as I see it, I think that most degens are on Twitter. So Farcaster is mainly composed by like a, a, an audience that is maybe a bit more reluctant to speculate compared to like the Twitter audience. So I wonder how do you see that? Like, do you think that there are like enough degens right now on Farcaster that might be interested in something like this, or do you see this as a tool that will start to be used more like in a few months from now, maybe a year from now, once more degens are onboarded onto the platform?
Yeah, I do think, crypto Twitter's, still the majority, right? And Farcaster, I think is just like more signal, whereas like Twitter, I think in a lot of ways is more noise. Farcaster's pretty small right now in comparison. But I think, you focus on the community where, the soil is most fertile, and that's kind of where we want to focus and grow. And we think the community will grow over time as more sort of thought leaders join Farcaster, more people will like move over. Also, if you were early in sort of degen, you'll notice like you had to be on Farcaster to really be in degen, right? Degen the token. And
Yeah,
so we think that
yeah,
there are these native interactions that you sort of need to link your, because what is Farcaster really? Farcaster is, taking your social handle and then signing a signature to say this is my address and like putting things on chain. But really that it's this linkage between your name and this address. And at the end of the day, if you don't have an address associated with your social name, like you might not get the airdrop, you might not get the rewards, you might not, you're missing out on things. And that like missing that FOMO, that missing out on things that you just need to like link this thing and be there sometimes. I think more people will gravitate towards because you can build more interesting like on-chain Web3 apps like that versus on Twitter where there's you don't have those. So like people replying with their address in comments. Like what? I don't
Yeah,
know. It just
yeah,
seems weird.
yeah. Cool. And I wanted like in terms of like growth drivers and also challenges, like what do you think like spur a lot of growth into Supa, and also like what sort of like challenges do you foresee to face in the near term?
Yeah. Well, I think challenges is definitely the size of Farcaster. But we hope to grow with it, and we'll start with the initial user group of right now they have 700,000 signups around that, and probably 70,000 I think daily active. So there's something there. It's not peanuts. In terms of growth, I think the biggest thing is like the app will be we're launching the app today, so it will be public as of today. And with that, a growth driver, I think, are just like interesting things about your on-chain, friend circle of like, I'm following this person and I can't believe they're making this much. Like, holy crap. And so being able to get this really like interesting insight about, of course, Farcaster Global, you can find those very easily, but also just like who you're around and what they're doing. Like, oh, wow, you're making this poly market bet. You shorted the market, at the top last week and you made a killing. Like, wow, I need to just like kind of do a double click on this user and follow them a little bit more because I'm actually surprised. So we think as a growth metric, like let's find insights and interesting things in alpha in your community by just exposing these things and bringing them up and like notifying you about them because they're already happening. We're just like helping you discover those things. Yeah, and then I think just better integrations. Like we want to make sure that we cover the core of DeFi, so making sure it's really easy to, you know, open a perp and enter a lending market and make it. How do you do this really well? I think that will attract more people. I think people might not be ready for making large financial decisions in an app, and we want to kind of challenge that idea of making it as easy as possible, if not easier. Yeah, I mean, just create a great product that people enjoy using, and hopefully that helps you grow as much as possible.
Cool.
And lastly, I would
Uh,
say one of the growth factors is, this whole idea that there's built-in referrals into every action you do, right? And I think that's really interesting. Whatever on-chain activity you do that is DeFi adjacent, you don't have to shill this thing, say, hey, all my friends like go to this thing. It's sort of already there and they just click on it and they decide. And it feels way less shilly. Um, so I think that's actually a growth driver for the persona of people who are already influencers. They can come and say like, yeah, I'm going to claim the money that I would get for free. People are going to follow this transaction anyway. I might as well like make a small fee from it. And we hope to make that better over time.
cool.
Sure.
So I wonder, Derek, if you could go over like the technical architecture of Supa.
Yeah. So technical architecture of Supa high level is, we switched everything over to Reef, which is a new development of Ethereum node um, out of sort of Paradigm team. There's been some amazing people working on that, and we switched over to that just so that we could figure out how to get the most performance out of a node and to reduce cost, just because there's so much data involved with, you know, on-chain activity and then Farcaster activity, and merging all of that together is really a heavy lift. And so doing that well, we needed a lot of performance, and Reef, has been amazing for that. And then, of course, we're running Farcaster node, but we're also using Nanar, and Nanar's been awesome. So shout out to Nanar, great team. And then for the wallet, we actually initially started with our own wallet um, that we had built. It was a smart contract wallet, and then we moved over to the Coinbase smart contract wallet, and it's been pretty reliable. It's been great. It does a lot. It has just a lot of built-in features that make it nice. So shout out to the Coinbase team for building a great smart contract wallet for developers just to take throw under their app and off to the races. I think the idea of making specific wallets is sort of a thing of the past. Like I've had so many apps that require you to create a new wallet, and I get the reason but it's just so much to manage. I love being able to log into an app and just having all my assets there and then deciding what to do. So I think this idea of, you know, a smart contract wallet that you can reuse over many apps is a pretty cool idea. And yeah, just a lot of back end and on chain, stuff. The app is a PWA, so it works with, pretty much any device. Yeah, that's the technical architecture of it.
Cool. And we're reaching the end of the episode, but I just want you to explain like who's the team behind Supa. So how big the team is, how many people are building this?
The team is three people. It's Parker Esme, who is the syntax ninja on Warpcast. And then it's Ammon, who's son of Mosiah ETH on Farcaster, and then Derek Aaliyah on Farcaster. So it's just three of us, all full stack engineers who've been in the space for a while, building out Supa.
Cool. Awesome. We reached the end of the podcast. It is super cool to chat with you and also get to discover Supa. I really appreciate your time, Derek. So thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Sebastian.
Bye, man. Let me